Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope that your day and your week is getting off to an absolutely wonderful start. And I hope that your day and week is filled with absolute love, joy, and laughter, because who doesn't like a good laugh? Today, I wanted to get on here and express my gratitude for my dear friend Austin Flint and the weekend that we had with a couple of our buddies and his soon to be father in law. His bachelor party we did at the River Gorge in Kentucky, and it's in the national forest of Daniel Boone. And what a wonderful weekend we had. Did some rock climbing, sat around the fire, and just talked about life and just really enjoyed each other's company and being one with nature. So, Austin, thank you, brother, for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of your special weekend. And I am grateful for that because I had an absolutely wonderful time. And that leads me into what I wanted to talk about as far as lessons we can learn and things that we grow through. And I said grow through, I meant to say go through, but subconsciously grow through came out because that is what occurred for me this weekend. Anybody that knows me and knows about my deepest fears, one of my deepest fears is heights, or so I thought. I am starting to realize it's not necessarily heights, it's fear of the edge. And I think that may be the case for a lot of people. We just chalk it up to heights, but I love to fly, and flying doesn't bother me at all. But if you get me close to the edge of something that's high, then heart skips a beat, and it's rough for me to fight through. But this weekend I did exactly that. So I've been to the Red River Gorge a handful of times, a dozen or so times actually, quite a bit, and we've stayed at similar spot almost every time. And there's a place called Half Moon, and it's a rock formation that sticks out above all the trees, and I'll post a picture with the video. But every time I've been there, I've watched everybody I've been with do it, and I've sat back and said, I'll be right here when you get back, and this weekend was different. This weekend, I don't even know why it was different at that moment, but Austin and Chris had started to climb the rock face and go to the top, and I gave it the normal I'll see you guys when you get back type of deal. And they pushed me, and the other people that I've gone with in the past have pushed me, but something clicked inside of me, and I think it has to do with studying with the Lionsgate portal and learning the energy that's coming in that helps us release fear. And for the first time in my mind, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, why? I always casted it off like, no, I'll see you when you get back, and didn't really think about it anymore. So as I started to climb, I was like, you know what? You can do this, man. This is the weekend to let go. Let go of your fear of heights or the edge. And this is something that's crippled me all my life. I've been the type of guy to go to an amusement park and go to the top of high things and close my eyes at the top of roller coasters, or at the Eiffel Tower, I would stand right next to the wall against the elevator while everybody else walked out to the edge and looked over and saw the beautiful scenery. So I started questioning myself, and as I'm questioning myself, Chris, he just said, "Sir, your time is now." And he caught me at that moment of thought where I was saying the same thing to myself, and I just turned and started scaling this rock face. And I stopped about halfway up, and I was so proud of myself. I was shaking, I was sweating profusely, and it was hot, and I was already sweating, but I was sweating extra because I was so anxious and nervous, and my fear was gripping me tightly. And I sat there and I took a couple deep breaths, and then they kept climbing to the top. I can go the rest of the way. So, turn, didn't look over the edges, looked straight at the rocks in front of me and just climbed. And before I knew it, I was at the top. what a huge breakthrough for me. A huge breakthrough. Like I said, this fear of the edge or fear of the heights has crippled me all of my life, and really robbed me of some beautiful experiences. And, as the weekend progressed and after that breakthrough, I had some really beautiful moments. We ended up Saturday going to it's about a 25-foot rock that people jump off of down into the river. And there's about 50 or so people there jumping off, having a good time. And, I've never had a problem jumping off the rock, but it's always been like a pencil jump, something conservative, something where I'm not fearful. And after making that breakthrough on Saturday, I was running and diving off of it. The water is plenty safe. I've never touched the bottom there. So diving is safe. But not only that, I was able to get rid of that fear to a point where I made some really beautiful connections with people that were fearful of jumping off the rock into the water. And I met a little boy named Edward that I coached through and talked to for about 45 minutes on top of the rock, trying to get him to jump off. And my middle name is Edward, so I use that kind of as an in, like, come on, Edward. He was probably 7 or 8 years old. So that was a really beautiful experience. And his dad's this big, huge, muscle-bound guy. And when his dad came up there, I thought, the ego is going to come out and tell me to back off. But his dad sat back and watched me, instruct him and give him confidence. And it was a really beautiful experience. And there were a couple teenage girls that were scared. They had climbed up on the rock, but it was one of those like, oh shit, how do we get back down if we don't want to jump? And so ended up talking those two girls into jumping off. And I met some guys from Bali at the top of the rock that were there. They were living in Columbus at the time doing something for school, but they were down at the River Gorge doing some rock climbing and stuff, and met those guys. And then I met another guy named Clark, young guy, probably 23 years old, big muscle-bound guy, a good-looking guy, seemed like he was fearless, but at the top he was really hesitant. And just being the observer, I'm like, hey man, what are you waiting for? Just busting his balls a little bit. I'm like, you're a young, strapping dude. What's the deal? What are you waiting for? And he's like, I'm thinking about doing a gainer. I'm like, well, what's stopping you? He was like, I don't know if I can. I was like, have you done a gainer before? Anyways, we were talking, and I was like, well, start with a dive, start get the pencil form and jump past the pencil and do a dive, and then gain your confidence that way. And he's like, I don't know about diving. So I looked over at him and said, follow me, brother. And I ran and dove off, and he ran and jumped after me. He didn't dive, but when we got back to the beach, he came over and he's like, I'm going to dive, man. So he went up and did a dive, and he was so happy, and he thanked me. And I told him, I said, get out of here and live from here, and you'll always be taken care of. You can do these things. It's your mind telling you can't. And you could tell it sat with him really well, because he looked at me like, most people don't get that deep meeting a stranger, and he really took it in. He was like, thank you, brother. And he stood up and gave me a hug, and we went on our way. And man, it was a really beautiful, cool experience. And we also met a couple there. The guy was turning 23 that day, and we had just been driving there and laughing because one of the roads we drove down was the speed limit was 23 miles an hour. And it was like, 23? Who the hell puts a speed limit at 23? And then we hang out with this guy that on his 23rd birthday. So a little numerical synchronistic moment for me. But man, what a beautiful breakthrough. And something I want to say to everybody is get your mind out of the way. The more you think about doing stuff that you're fearful of, the more the fear is going to captivate you and keep you from doing those things. Just know that you are capable of doing anything that you allow yourself to do. You may fail, you may fall, whatever you are doing, you may fail. And that's okay, because fail is our greatest teacher, and it brings the greatest growth within our being. So it's so important to step outside of your comfort zones and take that leap of faith, whether it's off a rock into water or starting a business or whatever it may be. It is so important to push yourself outside of the comfort zones, because there were so many people at that rock just sitting and watching other people experience life, and being fearful of jumping off the rock into water. And it just reminded me of how much we cheat ourselves of life experience by letting fear win. So I love you guys. Austin, thank you so much for the beautiful weekend. Gentlemen, Chris, Ty, Garrett, Michael, thank you, boys. What a beautiful weekend. I'm so grateful for you guys and the weekend that we had. And Chris, thank you for pushing me outside of my comfort zone and holding me accountable to continuing my growth and my limit pushing. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you guys very soon.